Hey everybody, good evening. Hope we're good. And after the malarkey of Monday, I really hope, I really hope, A, this microphone is working, and B, in sync, not in sync, in sync, and I'm not sounding like some kind of martial arts movie from the 1970s. Anyway, how are we doing? Good, good evening, everybody. Party. I'm just going to, obviously, as you're coming in, I'm just going to start saying hello to everybody who's making their way inside in the chat before I do anything else about the stigmata. So, well done, Dark Veil Tim. Well done for being first. Chris Williams, good evening. Kaz Scarlett and the lovely Diane Chambers, good evening. And who's got Ghost Watchers Phil, good evening. And Loretta, hello. Andrea Swift and Kaz and Bean, good evening. And AV Stevie, hello there. No effing ghosts, good evening. Kim, welcome along. And Gareth, thank you for joining us. Mystic, whatever, me more, my more. Anyway, that one. Good evening. Caroline Saxby, good evening. Welcome along. Brian, welcome along. Chris Yule, good evening. Maps Awakening, how are we doing? And don't shut up. Please tell me I'm not out of sync. Please tell me I'm not out of sync. UK Paranormal Search, shut up. Please don't. Please don't please tell me I'm all good. Good evening, Ghost Wiener. How we doing? Who else was I? Okay, and Belfast Crafty Nick. Good evening. Phew, yes. So yeah, earlier, obviously this week, Michelle. Good evening. Hello. This week, obviously on Monday, I had a bit of a mare in terms of technology and issues. Gingy hire. Yeah. So obviously the guest, poor Simon Intwistle, brilliant guy. Good evening, Roger. And shut up, out of sync. Please don't say I'm out of sync. Are you talking from your stomach? What? Oh, please no. Please no. Please, right. Oh, no. Don't tell me I'm out of sync again. You're seriously, your mic goes in and out. This is, I mean, it should be fine. Right. I will just explain a couple of issues that I've got regards internet. They're still short. Hang on a minute. Let me just Thanks. Oh. Oh my God. Oh, let's sort this out. Oh my God. Right. Should have video back. Can you hear me? Oh my dear God. Right. The issue the issue was just then. I would love to start again. Anyway, the issue was I said the outer sync. So I tried unplugging it and pulling it back in again and took out my video card of my camera. So now hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm not touching any more things because as soon as I start playing with cables, I unplug stuff by accident. That's gone again. So I should now be back. You should be able to hear me. You should be able to see me. Please, God, let this be happening. I've had enough of technical issues. Oh, don't. All right. I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds. I'm still out of sync. Do you know what's really annoying is I'll tell you what it might be. So first of all, what I did was I changed the wire to my microphone. So the microphone was getting a little bit frayed. So I thought, well, maybe that's the issue. So I've bought a new wire, hoping that would get it sorted. I'm going to stay as it is because if I start fiddling with things, I'll start pulling out video cards and capture cards and things. And to be honest, most of the time this evening we'll be looking at certain images and looking at videos as well. So I know I apologize now. I should try and hide my mouth and try. So, yeah, interesting. I don't know this whole out of sync thing. What I think it might be, and I'll try to explain what's happening. For the last 3-4 weeks, I've had no internet. So I've been waiting for the internet to get repaired and engineers to come out, and they haven't literally come out to my house for about 3-4 weeks. It's been ongoing. So I've been hotspotting internet off my phone. So I have a funny feeling that because I'm hotspotting off my phone, there's a slight delay between what I'm saying, it going to my phone, it connecting up. Anyway, I think that's the issue. So hopefully from Monday, we should all be sorted. Yeah, I'm going to hide behind here. Anyway, welcome along, everybody. I apologize for the out of sync thing. I really, really don't want. Yeah, I think it's just the fact that I've got no internet, basically, and I'm just running through everything through my phone, which I think is the issue. I'm hoping that it all gets sorted out very, very, very quickly. Anyway, so this evening, we're going to be talking about the stigmata because, funny enough, I was looking through, and I was looking for inspiration about what we could talk about this evening. So what I was doing is, it's latency from Bluetooth. Oh, okay, that's probably what it is then. I was looking through, some of you may remember, if you're old enough, you may remember the old Arthur C. Clarke World of Mysterious Powers or World of Strange Powers, something like that on TV. And I used to watch this paranormal TV show. I bought the books as a kid and absolutely loved it. So I was looking through that, and one of the things which nobody talks about anymore is the stigmata. It was a bit of a thing. It seemed to be a really popular thing, talking about stigmata in the 80s and 90s. And then it kind of went off the radar. Nobody talks about stigmata anymore. There's no videos, there's no coverage, there's no thoughts around it. And I still find it really weird kind of phenomena. Now, I know some of you will start to have your own opinions on stigmata. I'm going to go through a couple of famous cases, and that way you won't see me and you won't be distracted by the out of sync thing with my mic. So I'm going to go through a couple of the famous ones. Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. Yeah, that's the one. And we'll go through a couple of the famous people that supposedly had the stigmata. I'm not an expert. So, you have to, if somebody is particularly religious or you're a Catholic and you know a lot more about these people, I apologize now because I know a little bit, but I don't know everything about these people. So the first one we're going to talk about, we've talked about them, by the way, I'll talk about some of the issues, some of the controversies about them whilst they were alive, what doctors said about them, and so on and so forth. Then we'll go through some kind of medical explanations or possible explanations for how people seemingly have the wounds of Christ appear on their hands, the feet, from the eyes, from the crown of thorns on their head. Some people have the wounds of carrying the cross, Jesus' cross, or having wounds appear on the side where he was pierced. All of those things seem to have been recorded. Now, I find that really fascinating in itself. I want to be kind of very, very respectful of that. This may be, I'm not going to be anti-Catholic or anti-religious or anything along those lines, because there's a lot of people who firmly believe that some of these people did truly receive, by some kind of miraculous event, the wounds of Jesus Christ. So I suppose the most famous one is this chap. So this is, for those who don't realize who this is Padre Pio. So now Saint Padre Pio of Pietrelcina. Now born in 1887, died in 1968. So in 1918, apparently whilst he was praying to a crucifix, he began to develop stigmata. Now, a little bit interestingly, Padre Pio was essentially embarrassed about these wounds of Christ appearing on his hands. You can see it on his hands there as well. But for a lot of the time, he was so embarrassed, but he actually wore gloves, and he hid that from. I'm in the sink now for a little while. Okay, yeah, he hid his stigmata. So he had wounds to his hands, to his feet. Apparently, he had wounds on his side, which he never showed anybody. There was apparently he also somebody spotted spots of blood on his shirt, and he also seemed to have the wounds on his shoulder where Jesus apparently carried the cross. And so this was appeared. Now, the interesting thing of Padre Pio is the church came to recognize these wounds, the stigmata, as authentic. And there is a bit of controversy around Padre Pio. Now, apparently, doctors were sent by the Vatican to Padre Pio, and one came to the conclusion that these wounds were probably caused and maintained artificially. And there was a bit of the controversy around him was the fact that at one point he was caught with carbolic acid. Now, Padre Pio believes that, and some people believe him, that he had bought this acid to sterilize medical equipment. It was not to cause some kind of the wounds to his hands. Obviously, so that's the thing. So what some people think, it's obviously this carbolic acid. He's been caught. That's what he has. That's what's been causing these wounds for so long, because obviously this is the whole period of his life. But on the other side of it, the other point is that apparently the stigmata wounds were investigated. Doctors also said that these were not acid burns. They were not caused by acid burns. Another interesting thing is that apparently the doctors bandaged his hands and examined them every day for a week. They didn't just bandage his hands, they sealed the bandages with wax seals so he could not tamper with his own wounds. And every day they would open the seals, examine the wounds, rebandage it, reseal it every day. And there is a good number of people that say that there was no way that Padre Pio could have created those wounds himself because of the fact that these were kind of examined and sealed up and things like that. So the church came to recognize these as real. In 2002, 500,000 people heard Pope John Paul II canonize this man as a saint. So he is now Saint Padre Pio. He is the most famous person who has apparently had wounds of stigmata. I think he's perhaps the most interesting one, mainly because the church absolutely regarded it as authentic. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of the people less well known. quite, like I say, it is really, really interesting, all this kind of stuff. So this next person, this is Theresa Helena Higginson, the lovely lady from Wales, born in 1844 in a deeply religious family. She apparently only committed one sin as a child, which was she didn't hang her hat up after her mother asked her to. And seemingly, and even though she was from a deeply religious family, she decided not to become a nun, but to become a teacher. In 1874, just before Easter, she started to develop wounds on her hands and her feet and thorn marks on her head. This is what I find really interesting, funny. Apparently, and you can look this up. So Theresa Helena Higginson, apparently, and this is repeated a lot in various things, but the devil was said to visit her often during the night. Now then, right? Her family heard violent crashing noises and shrieks from her room. And she had numerous visions until the day she died in 1905. Now, she, whether you believe that she was visited by the devil, or whether she was doing something a little bit naughtier, which is why she was shrieking and making lots of crashing noises in her bedroom late at night, that's another story. But yeah, this lady was not turned into a saint. And the people who kind of follow her, and the church may not have created her a saint, because she believed that in venerating the head, or the sacred head of Jesus, to literally pray and worship to the head of Jesus, and the church basically didn't want people to start venerating various body parts of Jesus Christ, which is possibly why she was never made a saint. But apparently she also had the stigmata. Next up, lady from Italy called Gemma Galgani, born 1878. Again, all these are around about the 1800s, late 1800s. There's a lot of these. Apparently at the age of 21, she began to show signs of the stigmata. She had visitations from the Virgin Mary, from Jesus, from various saints and things like that. The doctors observed her and put it down to, and they observed her hysterical behaviors, which is a wonderfully Victorian description. They were trying to identify what may have been causing the stigmata that's appearing, and apparently appeared and disappeared at different points. Spots of blood were found, but no wounds. Interestingly, apparently there's a claim that they found a needle by her bed, which obviously, if you think about it, could have been the cause of puncture marks on her body, and she may have been doing it herself. Others believe that this was a genuine thing. Apparently in 1903, while suffering tuberculosis and the pains of the crucifixion, she was suffering that, and then over Easter, particularly apparently then where she finally died in 1903 on Holy Saturday over the Easter weekend. She was canonized in 1940. And her heart is now in a monastery in Madrid, in Spain. So again, even though there's kind of big question marks around her, it's kind of, I find that's, it's kind of this, it's what's interesting. There's lots and lots of question marks around quite a few of these famous people who are meant to have suffered the stigmata. There are loads of these people. One that was in the Arthur C. Clarke book, slightly scary eyes here. Therese Neumann, German, born in 1898. I will go show you some videos of Therese. Now, Therese apparently lost her sight and was partly paralyzed in her younger years. Apparently in 1923, so roughly when she was about 25 years old, she began saying I don't think they call them novenas or novenas, which is basically 9 days of prayer. And she was praying to Saint Therese of is it Lisieux or Lisieux? But anyway, she was praying to a saint, and during those 9 days of prayer, apparently her eyesight was restored. And when Saint Therese, the saint she was praying to, was canonized 2 years later, Newman's paralysis. She was paralyzed. Her paralysis apparently was cured as well. In 1926, so when she was 28, stigmata wounds started to appear on her hands and her feet, and she would bleed from the eyes. She was examined by doctors and bishops who found her, this is really interesting, they found her behavior suspicious, and they recorded that the blood that seemed to appear from her hands and face and feet and things like that would only appear after they had left the room, which I think is really interesting. She also claimed, bless her, that she survived for 40 years by only eating communion wafers and drinking nothing but water. And yet, when the doctors were looking at her, she was not a small lady. She was quite well built. I wouldn't say, she was quite well built woman. And so apparently for somebody who was only living on communion wafers and water, people were a little bit suspicious of her. But yeah, in 2005, Therese Neumann was declared a servant of God, which is the first step to her canonization. So there is I'll try and share, hopefully there's no more dramas and issues with technology, but I'm going to try and share a screen. I'm going to show you some video footage of Therese Neumann while she was alive. It's anybody who's squeamish, I mean, I'm sure you're absolutely fine. Both ways screen. If she is bleeding from the eyes and things. It's only a 1-minute video. I'll share it, and then you can have a look and see what you think of some of the footage. Okay, so oh, let's get rid of that a second. Thank you. Right, yeah. So that's so obviously there's a little bit of blood there. You can see it pouring from her eyes and things. There are more kind of graphic photos of her. But yeah, that's Therese Neumann. Her photo with the blood streaming from her eyes like that. It was all over. You might have seen a lot of panel books with her in it, and it's kind of like it's kind of interesting when you see it like that. Now, there are obviously some possible explanations. I'm going to come onto the chat a second. So, obviously, number one, fraud. Are these people? This lady, doctor, this blood apparently appeared only after they had left the room. So, is she applying whether it's pig's blood or that blood to her own eyes, which is kind of weird, to her hands and things like that, to make her seem more devout and more holy, to replicate the wounds of Jesus Christ? Is that what's going on? Is she harming herself in some way? So is it self-inflicted, consciously, unconsciously? These are some of the explanations for the stigmata. Some believe that that could have been happening during particularly intense prayer. These are usually stigmata is obviously highly, incredibly religious people who get themselves into a certain state of being. So whether that's during prayer or fasting, some people believe it's linked to psychological conditions. So I'm going to give you some suggestions. So number one is self-infliction. Are they doing it themselves? Is it fraud, basically? Is it due to psychological conditions such as dissociative identity disorder? So, do they literally think, they're somebody else? Is it self-mutilation? Uh, are they having hallucinations? Is that what's leading to the stigmata? They're so heavily influenced by paintings, by looking up at the crucifix and seeing the wounds of Jesus all the time. They empathizing so much with the suffering of Jesus that they're literally wanting to do it themselves. There are a couple of medical conditions which I find really interesting. I have heard of these before, but I literally had to look them up. One is hematidrosis. Hematidrosis is literally when you sweat blood. Digital, no, I'm not. Hematidrosis is when you sweat blood from intact skin. I think. Do you remember the James Bond villain? I'm trying to think which one it was now. Who bled from his eye? His tears were blood. He had hematidrosis. So, is that what's going on? Are these people literally very rare condition where you bleed blood, sweat blood from intact skin? Is that what's going on? There is another one which is called psychogenic purpura. Again, you can tell I looked this up, which is the development of skin lesions and bruising. So, these seem just appear literally. Lesions, bruising appear. Is this the reason why people are getting bruising on themselves? Le Chiffre, well done. Thank you very much. There, Chiffre had the blood. So, is it medical? Is it psychological? Is it fraud? What do you guys think is going on? Finally, I can talk to the chat. Now I've got through all of those people. Tell me your thoughts. He's in sync. It's a miracle. Praise the Lord. Yeah. Holy Jesus. Okay. Let's go for some people. I'm just going to go. Let's put the chat on overlay so I can see all of what you guys are saying. And hopefully it kind of connects up in a second. There we go. So the paragraph. So let's have a little look. The women of this chat would have a great time together. He's in sync as miracle. The power of Google. No effing ghost. It's bollocks. Say it like it is. Say it like it is. She wants like an intentional, says Weird Fox. I've got bruises out of nowhere, but I'm getting old. So there is that. I get that. I seemingly get that. Hematidrosis. This is watery, not thick blood. Yeah, I've seen that it's literally like water. Like it's not sweat. It's red. It's blood. But yeah, it's not thick. And a lot, certainly that image of Therese Neumann, the blood that seemed to be coming from her eyes was thick. It seemed to be kind of, it wasn't like thin, watery, was it? Self-inflicted, says Mystic. Hope it don't start bleeding. I might if I have any more technical issues. Fraud, says UK Paranormal Search. I mean, I do understand. I can understand actually the reasons for the fraud if it's blatant fraud, because obviously these people want to be venerated. They've spent their whole life in pursuit of, of just being so devoted to Jesus Christ and his suffering and empathizing and things like that. They want to be like this. It's a bit like was it piety? It's that kind of. It's that being pious and things like that. I think a lot of it is down to that. Let's have a look. I hate the damn microphone on this thing. It doesn't like my southern slang and never says what I want to say. Definitely self-inflicted, says Mark. Religious nuts believe in it so much they'll do it to themselves. Brainwashed to believe. What's that? I've got there. Brainwashed to believe they're in direct contact with God. A prop to emphasize the preaching. Ebola causes being like that, yeah. All rubbish. When crucifixions were carried out, the nails went between the bones behind the wrist so the body could stay on the cross. I've never believed in it. Yeah, that is a big topic of conversation around. Well, how come they're in the palms of the hand when it's been proved that Jesus would not have been, they would not have been nailed through the palm. It would have been through the wrist. Some people were saying that the angle of the nail, it could have been where if it was down to a certain angle, it could have literally gone through the palm of the hand and out of the wrist. It sounds to me that some people are trying to make things fit because, yeah, I've always been a little bit wary of that. But I mean, when I was a warfarin, I would bruise just by the slight pressure. For example, someone holding my arm. That's good. Some self-inflicted, but I believe also can happen with overly religious people, and sort of psychosomatic. Power of the mind, though drug buyers are carried out to keep the narrative up that Jesus was resurrected. Diane, don't bring aliens into this. Even the Vatican takes a very skeptical view of stigmata these days. Yeah, do you know what? It's quite interesting, Cherif, as you say that, because from what I can gather, a lot of these people who are supposedly suffer the stigmata, they're all, the most famous cases they were all born roughly in the same time, late 1800s. You don't see anybody from the 1980s or the 1970s. You don't see anybody modern coming out saying, I've got the stigmata, here I am, put themselves on TV, and then they're being looked at and examined, and people, you don't see it anymore. I wonder whether it was not, in a way, almost, I don't want to say a fad, but certainly maybe more people were more believing of it a long time, lot further ago. Justin, did Vatican doctors treat that First Lady or regular doctors? Makes a big difference as far as what they say. Yeah, that's very true. It's difficult to tell when you just look on the internet. Some people just use the word doctors. Some say that the Vatican sent their own doctors. And it's very difficult to know, actually, without, I'm like I said, I'm not an expert, without looking into looking into it too deeply about what type of doctors. I would suggest that the regular medical doctors not linked to the Vatican were the ones who were being a little bit more skeptical about what they were examining and what they were seeing. Do you know the 6th century, the church was found when marijuana was found and probably used as an incense in churches? Oh, so spook for that's amazing. That is so cool. I love the idea of parishioners and people in the church have been absolutely stoned out of their mind. That'd be amazing. Power of the mind can do strange stuff. Absolutely. It's all stigmata are staged by religious zealots. Stigmata isn't trendy anymore. I happen to agree. It's out of sync again. Thanks, Chris. I'm going to hide behind my microphone if I'm out of sync. Same era as all the ectoplasm. Yeah, the church keeps it hidden. Same with exorcisms because nobody believes anymore. So what surprised me that you think these fame-hungry people would stoop to stigmata to get on TV. Do you know what? Actually, yeah, absolutely right, Lou. We have, I do wonder, when all these people that come out shouting out demon every 2 seconds, I do wonder if somebody wants to make an impact, like a real impact on TV, if they suddenly are doing a YouTube channel or they're on the TV and they really want to get attention, having spontaneous stigmata appear, that's going to get them attention. I'm surprised some of the people with massive egos on YouTube haven't done it. So I haven't done it yet because I reckon that's the next big thing. I reckon it's going to happen. People are going to re-find and imagine that they're going to start bleeding from the eyes and stuff because it gets them views. You watch. I bet they do. People will stoop to anything. It's superstition before the advent of science. How about St. Joseph Cupertino, who flew like Superman every day? What? The most famous person who's meant to have suffered the stigmata, I've not even mentioned, St. Francis of Assisi in, I think, the 1200s. Because I know nothing about St. Francis of Assisi, I've not even mentioned him. But yeah, he was the original, I suppose, person who suffered the stigmata. Let's have a look. The human body can do amazing things if the mind believes it so. Some can think they are pregnant and develop all the signs. I do. It's really. I would love to speak to somebody about, a proper scientist who, or a medical physician who can actually say, is that at all likely? If you think it and desire it and want it so much, will you seemingly have these things appear psychosomatically? Is that possible, or is it just pure fakeness? Is it purely fraud? Surprised no paranormal teams on YouTube haven't claimed stigmata when investigating a haunted church. Wait for it. I reckon it's going to happen. I reckon it's going to happen. My local abandoned church was recently raided for a cannabis grow. Awesome. Yeah. I think I'd start to believe the existence of ghosts over stigmata and God. Yeah, like I say, I'm not religious, but I do find the topic. It's kind of it has impact, doesn't it? Stigmata. When you see that little video of Therese Neumann, just in her bed covered in blood, it's got impact. And obviously Padre Pio, his when he would do things, when he would do services and things, they were packed, absolutely packed by people who wanted to catch sight of him because he had the stigmata. Yes, it's fascinating. It is really genuinely fascinating. Didn't Zach Bagans have an episode where he claimed stigmata? Oh, Jesus, did he? Spontaneous human combustion. That's what I want to know. D, I would love to do a spontaneous human combustion episode. I nearly did. I might do it. The only reason I haven't is because I want to show some of those images from a while back, that all the images that we saw in books. But I put it on. Remember that famous one that everyone remembers of the woman, and you just see the leg, and she's wearing like a slipper, and the rest of us burnt up. That really famous image. I put that on Twitter, and it went viral. Actually, it went crazy nuts until somebody from Twitter saw it and then took it down because they believed I believed I was showing a dead body. So I do wonder whether YouTube will like me showing images of corpses, even though you can't really tell. Anyway, just don't worry about it. That's just glitching. So no, I think what it is, the glitching thing, I do genuinely think it's because I'm running everything through my phone. I think that's what it is. At least I hope it is. It can't be the Double K became member. Thank you very much. If I'm guest of honor, people will expect too much of me. I want to earn my invite. I love alchemy. Some of what was found out seems to work. Some research shows that the Philosopher's Stone was made from urine. Spookfest, really? Why have we gone on to trying to make gold out of stuff? Anyway, alchemy is a bit weird. No medical data for psychosomatic causes of bleeding, only bruising, according to Chat GPT. Oh, Cherry Fizz has been on the internet. Awesome. PP magic. Perhaps it's a physical version. Philip experiment. Intention is behind lots of paranormal things. No medical data for psychosomatic causes of bleeding, only bruising. Oh, Cherry Fizz said that again, or maybe I've read it twice. Victorians were good at frauding. I think the church understands its responsibilities on mental health better now, hence no recent cases. Yeah, it is very interesting that that some people thought that some of it was down to women's hysteria, which I always find ridiculous, but there we go. I did nearly combust on Monday. I tried to keep it cool. I'm trying to keep it cool tonight, even though I couldn't get my bloody video to work again. Anyway, Peter Laws did a good video on spontaneous combustion. Yeah, I do. I still want to kind of talk about it, but I might have to talk about it without the images of, the ones that we all saw as kids in those books. It's only a flesh wound. I'm just going back to. I'm just looking at all of the spontaneous human combustion kind of comments now. Let's have a look. What's I forgot? It's feet and slippers, not a cadaver. Yeah, exactly, Lou. Feet and slippers. It's it's just a body part. Most of it you can't tell that it's a person anyway. Most of these old photos is just literally a burnt up flat or apartment with a electric heater right near them. Oh, Chris, Jesus, get out! Spontaneous combustion. Now there's a hot topic. Jesus Christ, just get out. That's so bad, but funny. Let's have a look. I don't believe half the things written about Jesus, though. I think the Bible may be based on someone, therefore I can't believe stigmata. Perhaps some people just made those wounds to themselves. Yeah, I get that, Anna. You know, what's that? To be honest, Justin, your mic is fine. We're here. You're fine. Just camera keeps readjusting. You're probably right about the hot spotting. Yeah, I think so. I think what it is, it's just trying to do a thing is at a certain speed, and maybe it just can't. As good as my phone is, maybe it just can't process everything as quickly as I would like it to. So that's what's causing the kind of out of syncness or the blurriness, and then it comes back again. So look, I know you're old when your first exposure to paranormal is from books. I know Phantoms of Yore, bloody hell, don't I know it? But yeah, I mean I do genuinely like revisiting those original. Do you remember like the Unexplained series? I'm sure they were in the US as well as the UK, but the Unexplained, you have to have them in binders and magazines and things like that. I loved those old Unexplained magazines, full of stuff about the Bermuda Triangle, the Loch Ness Monster, Yeti, Bigfoot, Stigmata, firewalking, and there was all that kind of stuff. So I loved all of that kind of thing, and I think with now on YouTube, certainly with the paranormal, it's all about ghost hunting, and it's all about I suppose a lot of podcasters around about talking about two little local groups, which kind of bore me, quite frankly. But I love going back to the old cool topics that we used to be brought up on, and I want to kind of bring that back. I want to bring back those topics that we used to love as kids. So if you look at the definition of stigmata, you claim to feel the same pain Jesus felt on the cross. I could be wrong. I think what it is, the stigmata, that it's a number of things. Some people think it's physical wounds, like bleeding, essentially. Some people think it doesn't have to be physical, like bleeding. It can be bruising. It could, some of it is associated, obviously, famously associated with the hands and the feet and the palms of the hands and things like that. But it could just be bleeding from the forehead, apparently sign of the crown of thorns. It, a wound to the side because of the spear that speared Jesus. So, it's not just the hands and the feet thing. It could be different areas as well. So like Human Combustion, remember the odd Unexplained magazines? Yeah, they're great. I used to love those magazines. My favorite book was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark when I was young, because the spoofers, absolutely, they were cool. Oh, Diane still has her Unexplained series. That's good. I love it. Ripley's Believe It or Not was awesome too. Unsolved, or was that Unsolved Mastery? Or was that Unsolved Mystery? I licked the like button again. It's really moist. Sorry. Please, Sky Lisa, what are you doing? Crop circles. Yeah, I can remember looking at crop circles and genuinely thinking they were real. I just think people have got really good at making them now. Really good. But stigmata would end with a spear in your ribs. So yeah. What's that? If you pulled a face and the wind changed. I mean, what would be nice actually is after the next 5-10 minutes or so, I'll stop after about an hour after on this one. But I to talk about in future, because like I said, you now know what the kind of stuff I like, and there's probably the same stuff you used to be brought up on, but reading about the paranormal. So yeah, I'm obsessed with ghosts and poltergeists. I think most people are, but it's the other stuff that we don't really talk about anymore, which is why I did the stigmata one today. It's because there's lots of things out there that we used to read about that seemingly disappeared. Bermuda Triangle's disappeared. We don't talk about that anymore. Is it because we know more about the Bermuda Triangle or possible causes and things? What's that? Justin, remember the old EVPs of Winston Churchill saying, "Make me mighty again"? There's a plastic record stuck on the front of the Unexplained magazine. Do you know what? I do vaguely remember. They used to put those little vinyls, those little plastic. This is bloody how old I'm really showing my age now. I do remember those. I used to have a book with some vinyls in it, which were, where I had Paul Goddard on talking about regression. They were records, little tiny, those flimsy, crappy records where you can listen to people being regressed to their past life. I loved all that stuff. Let's have a look. Did Jesus saw himself while he was on the cross? Because I don't see anyone claiming that was stigmata. Funny enough, Brian, no, you don't. And the other thing you don't actually hear about is Jesus Christ's back was apparently flayed, right? Properly flayed. You don't hear about that. And I find that interesting. He had, if you believe the Bible story and you believe what happened to him, the guy's back was literally in shreds. Nobody has that on their backs. I've not read any accounts of anybody suffering stigmata where they have a flayed back, where it's been kind of whipped repeatedly. I find that interesting. Anyway, there's a program now on the Bermuda Triangle now. Oh, that's cool. More than likely, you'd have to go somewhere. Mary Magdalene must have had a very strong constitution. The fishing trip. We don't talk about that anymore. So, vampires. That's cool. I love the vampire stuff. I love regression stuff. Thanks, Pomp. God back was his dog. Yeah, cheers, man. Blood Eagle. The wound on the Shroud of Turin looks a lot like the wounds beyond the nails. Do you know what? I would love to do a bit of a deep dive on the Shroud of Turin, the Turin Shroud. Just because I think I remember reading about the Turin Shroud, the Shroud of Turin, whatever you want to call it, and people had taken analysis of little sections of it, and they said, "Oh, this is medieval. This is medieval. It can't possibly be, can't possibly be the image of Jesus Christ. He couldn't have been wrapped in this. In his body could not have been wrapped in this." Since then, they took it from an outside piece, apparently, which may have been amended, and a piece that may have just where some people over time have mended it. And then some sections of the shroud apparently is from the time of Jesus, and there's more question marks around the Turin Shroud than I think we were led to believe initially. So I think that could possibly, it might be a bit of a quick one though, it could possibly be one that's quite a good one to talk about. If we get all the evidence and we talk about it and we look at it and things like that, I think that'd be quite cool. Let's have a little look. I find hypnosis interesting. I know scientifically it's just a high state of suggestion, but it's interesting. Yeah, I read somewhere that Jesus did all his miracle, etc., in a period of about 4 years. But where did you read that, Pomp? I've never heard that before. So from when did he meant to have died? 33? So he did it from the age of 29 to 33. Really? Okay. What does a dyslexic, insomniac, agnostic do? They lie awake wondering if there's a dog. I really like that, Roger. I'm genuinely really. It's a priest tea towel, the Turin Shroud. Hi, JT. I'll finally leave a link for the vampire. Google the word of the podcast. Okay. Which podcast? That's right. Yeah, came up as medieval because they tested the mended piece. Yeah, exactly. I think the Shroud of Turin is more interesting than we've been led to believe. I kind of dismissed it out of hand, actually. I think a lot of people dismissed it. I think, well, it's a fake, it's a fraud, it's been painted on. It was a medieval painting designed to attract more people to the church and blah blah blah. But yeah, if you look into it, I think there's a lot more to the story. Okay. Ryan, there are people who live on blood. Yeah, they're just weirdos though, aren't they? Those people who kind of seemingly live on blood. I've seen those in kind of people in documentaries that are a bit odd. It's a bit like blokes who have, dolls. I mean, the nice, naughty dolls, those ones, and the people, the blokes who wear nappies, that kind of thing. Would I consider covering Merlin and Arthur, the Arthurian legend stuff? That'd be quite interesting. I do kind of like the Arthurian legend. The problem is, a lot of stuff from the time of Arthur and the Arthurian legend was essentially made up. So a lot of it started, I think, from the Tudor times. They made up a lot of stuff because they had some kind of weird mystical view of old kings and being descended from Arthur and things like that. Henry VIII did it a lot. And then it became, and then there's a lot of mythology around it created by the Victorians as well. So it's very, very hard to pinpoint anything genuine about King Arthur and Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table and all of that kind of stuff. We start going into Monty Python very, very, very quickly. What the fuck is a nice naughty doll? You know, the ones which have got all the bits and the parts and they look glamorous, and a man has been married to it and apparently they had a baby and all of that kind of weirdness. There's a lot of weirdness out there. Vampire sex dolls in nappies. There's an image. Yeah, let's not go down the weird route. Yeah, get back on track. Stigmata. Exactly. Geoffrey of Monmouth, my hometown, an old monk, wrote about King Arthur. Yeah, I mean, I do find it interesting, but there's so much nonsense about it. Exactly. Whether it's the Holy Grail, all of that kind of stuff. There's a lot of silliness about it. Again, as soon as I say there's lots of silliness, listen, I always go back to Monty Python. I've got to stop. Camelot. 'Tis a silly place. Let's not. Right. Justin knows too much about. I really don't. Creepy, weird internet stuff. Just like, no, move on. I heard Merlin was actually a title, not a name. I did not know that. I'm worried about you. Thanks, Pomp. Reading some of your comments, Pomp. I'm a little bit worried about you too. Stigmata is what you get when you study Top Gear at university. What? Stigmata. Very good. Yeah, I know. As the Holy Grail originated from medieval French poem. Very good. Oh yeah, we could. Yeah, I don't want to go down the Dan Brown. All the conspiracy stuff either. That's just a bit silly. Saber-tooth rabbit. Camelot was only a model. I just don't get Monty Python. Some people don't, Brian. Some people don't. It's very silly. It's very childish. It's all a bit, But I think the Monty Python thing was just very. Oh Christ! Here comes Beardo. Beardo, what time do you call this? I'm about to finish in literally 5 minutes, and then you rock up. So we've already talked about stigmata. We've talked about people bleeding from their eyes and their hands and their feet and stuff like that. We've gone through different possible explanations, and yet then Beardo turns up after I've done all the talking. 55 minutes late. Absolutely ridiculous. But yes. So yeah, Beardo, as you've come in late, and Mrs. Geek come in late. Jesus, right? Very quickly, I'll give you the options. This is the options around stigmata. What do you think? Fraud? Are they doing it on purpose? So, or consciously or unconsciously self-inflicted? Is it due to psychological conditions? Are there issues around that? Is it medical conditions? You think it's this thing where people sweat blood? Is it the bit where there's a spontaneous development of bruising and lesions and things like that? Or, is it just the fact that these people are doing it to themselves and making themselves seem holy? The one thing I talked about at the very, very beginning of this stream, after some, again, more technical issues, was Padre Pio. And Padre Pio, if you look into him, I find it really interesting. The church is convinced that Padre Pio, oh, bloody hell, look, here's bloody side-eye guy at the same, again, 56 minutes late. What you'd been doing? Sleeping, probably. Oh, it's early in the morning in Australia. Anyway, so Padre Pio, look him up. The church was so convinced that his stigmata was genuine, they canonized him, and he is now a saint, Saint Padre Pio, because they finally, even though there were kind of doubts around him, the Vatican believed enough that it was genuine. So what do you reckon? I'm guessing that's both Seg and Beardo and Mrs. Geek most likely going to go, nah, Stigmata, load of bollocks, mate. You know. Oh, look, everyone's saying hello to Seg because he managed to wake up and finally drag himself to the computer and say hello. Absolutely ridiculous. What's that? Stigmata? I don't believe in God, so assume it's such a powerful belief some will injure themselves to prove it. Others lie through their arse to turn up on TV giving prayers for money. Yeah, what we're saying before is a lot of these stigmata issues was because a lot of it was from the 18th. A lot of these people were born in the late 1800s, so came to prominence in the 1920s when the society was still a lot more religious than it is now. So they weren't necessarily doing it for TV because there was no TV. But I do think I do wonder how much was to show. I don't hate talking about ego here, but in terms of their own ego, to show that they are closer to Jesus than anybody else. They are so more pious than anybody else. Look, I'm so pious. I have even able to bleed from my hands like Jesus did. I do wonder whether some people were possibly doing that to reflect their own piety. Not for TV fame, obviously, but for fame amongst the church. I find it really interesting. What's that? I don't have a gimp to wake me so early. Bloody alarm clock? Just, come on, man. Stigmata. Stigo. There's Seg's comment. Stigmata's a load of bollocks, mate. Oh, how did I know he would say such a thing? He's ignoring me. And yeah, I'm not ignoring. Am I ignoring you or somebody else ignoring you? Sorry if you believe it's me. Seg wakes up cuddling his kangaroo. That's what you call it. You presume I don't believe in Stigmata, but my auntie before she died was a healer, so I'm open. That's good, Mrs. Geek. So you've not been completely turned by Beardo. That's good. Bet Seg woke up cuddling a photo of Justin. No. So I Stigmata once. I fell off of my motorcycle, not wearing gloves, and the bearded sky fairy marked me. Ouch, that's got a sting, though, isn't it? Jesus Christ. Ouch, indeed. That's pious Beardo, not piles. Well, he knows all about that. There's Beardo. Are you still on that little cushion, Beardo? Even though on your new chair, you still on that little rubber cushion, just to help with the anal issues you've got. Anyway, Kim and Spanish drinking together. Just oh yeah, I know. Oh Jesus Christ, Gareth, you wouldn't want to cuddle my photo of Justin. What the hell have you done to it, Seg? My God, monetary motivation may be a factor. People pay to be near a miracle. I think that's a very good shout because Padre Pio was hugely famous because of it, and people were streaming and trying to get an audience with him, even though he tried to cover up his stigmata with gloves and things because he was embarrassed, apparently. Yeah, I do find that really interesting that, so maybe there's a bit to that. I mean, anyway, the thing is, if stigmata is genuine, then that would suggest that the resurrection was real. And that's very debatable. There's no evidence outside of the full Gospels, and even they don't agree. That's a very, very good point, JT. Does your picture pop? What? My cushion is gone. Is it really? Have you because of your new chair, you've got rid of the cushion? Oh, that's disappointing. Justin without guests, anal issues. Yeah, exactly. I curse you, and now you on Beardo stream, and now you're ignoring me. Who are you? Engir, is it me? Am I ignoring you, Engir? Because if it is, I am reading your comments. So I apologize if you believe it's me. Religions have always needed miracles to make people take notice. Yeah. And do you know what? I find that really interesting, actually. And I think you're absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on with that. Funnily enough, where I live, I looked up a little bit of the history around the town where I live, and apparently in the 1800s, an angel appeared miraculously near one of the churches in my town and witnessed by a number of people and the priests and things like that. And I do wonder, I wonder whether the takings were down and whether the people were leaving the church. So the church created this angelic vision that supposedly appeared to everybody to bring people back to the church. This was in Victorian times. So there, I think there is a bit of a pattern. I've got to say, bit of a pattern. Let's have a look. Can we have some likes now? It's gone all weird and creepy. Click for likes. Please do. Yeah, please do a thumbs up and likes and stuff. That'd be very useful. Put out a survey of a few topics. Yeah, we can vote for next time. Yeah, absolutely, Brian. I will do. I will give you a few. What I'll do is I'll search through. So I suggest, hang on a minute, hang on, Engil, what's he saying? I suggest and would like for someone to look into large cats in Britain, panthers and like. Engil, that's a really good one, actually. You know what I did? The whole cryptid thing, the talk with Andy McGrath around cryptids, and part of that was the wild cats around the UK. Yeah, that could be a good shout for a topic. So, but what I'll do, I'll take Brian's suggestion, because I love all these old these topics from old paranormal stuff that we don't talk about anymore. Put some up, whether it's some, and I'll do some suggestions. I'll take your suggestions as well as for this one. And if there's anything that you think in the paranormal world we don't really talk about anymore, whether it's Bermuda Triangle and stuff, or the Mary Celeste and things like that, and we can look into it and do a deep dive on it and tell us, and we can kind of debate it and think about it. All of these old topics that we used to love. Was it the crystal skulls, the screaming skulls? Like I said, Bigfoot was seemed to be a massive thing. The Yeti seemed to be a massive thing. What else? There's just loads of topics that we used to chat that used to be all in these books, and we just don't talk about them anymore. Anyway, so yeah, I should do a little list, and you can write down what you think. What's that? Paranormal Monkey Pocket buys merchandise, shirts, pop-up just in pictures, and blow-up dolls. No, there will be no blow-up dolls. I'm telling you that now. Absolutely no. So look. What's that? The Long Island Medium and Tyler Henry have new shows on Netflix. Total Scammers. Interesting. I didn't know that. Let's have a look. Jesus Christ, what's it about the bloody blow up? I know I mentioned the weirdness of the internet, but I don't want to go down the blow up doll thing. Christ almighty. Bogeyman, the Bogeyman. Anyone remember Omni magazine? I don't, Brian. Is that a US only magazine? Because I definitely don't remember Omni magazine. I remember the Unexplained magazines, but I've never heard of the Omni magazine. Let's have a look. Hello, everyone. Hey, evening, Occult Life. How we doing? Let's have a look. Right. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll have a little scour through my old books from when I was a kid, and I'll think of maybe 4 or 5 topics, and then I'll put it to a vote. I'll put it in the community. They don't call it the community thing anymore. They've changed it. I think it's just called posts on YouTube now. I'll put it under the posts section, and then you guys can kind of vote for next time. So in a fortnight's time, you can take a little vote, and you can decide what we chat about. It'll be something kind of broadly paranormal related, and yeah, it'll be a good one. Good evening. Boo Productions. Hello. All these people coming in now. All these people coming in late. Absolutely ridiculous. So Omni features in Ghostbusters at one point. Oh, I did not know that. Oh, that's cool. I did not know that. That's something I didn't know. That's cool. It was full of weird stuff. I think it was out in the 1980s. Yeah, it must have been. It must have been a US only thing, because I've never heard of it. I've got to say, I've never heard of it. I think we had the Unexplained magazine, but I don't think that, and 14 times, I suppose. But I don't think I've never come across it. Tell me if I'm wrong. Anybody in the UK heard of the Omni magazine? But I don't remember it, I've got to say. But yes. So what's that? Some big things on Monday. Wi-Fi to be fixed with no sync issues. Oh, I bloody hell! I seriously hope so. because there's the whole thing. Now like I say, I bought a new cable thinking that would sort it. I do think it must be linked to the fact that I'm running it through the hotspot of my phone. I think that's the likely cause of it. It just so happened, I'm trying to get down to why it's there's, but I've been having these things. But anyway, just before I go, I want to tell you about what's happening on Monday on the Paranormal Monkey podcast proper with the guest on Monday. It's going to be a really, genuinely, really, really fast. On Monday, I've got a guy called Tony Hayes. Now, Tony Hayes has if you follow at the ASAP Paranormal Society, he did a talk a little while back called The Diary of a Poltergeist. Tony Hayes has been involved with a very big, and I do mean big, ongoing poltergeist case. He's been involved with a particular family. We can't reveal the identity of the family because it's an ongoing case for a number of years. Tony has sent me a dozen files, and every file is enormous. We're talking thousands and thousands of incidents, CCTV footage. I think he's got 12 cameras in the family home, capturing as much as he possibly can. It's an ongoing podcast, and it's huge. So there's CCTV image, there's audio images. He is producing this investigation with reporting back to the Society for Psychical Research. This is not a YouTube investigation. This is a full-on investigation that Tony Hayes has been doing for a number of years. Very, very involved with it. He's given me so much data and so much information, I can't possibly cover it in 1 hour. It is going to be impossible, absolutely impossible. It is in the UK. So he's doing things with his own society. He's reporting everything to the Society for Psychical Research. It is an absolutely enormous investigation that he's been doing. It is the family have moved property, so it was the second property, and things have continued in the second property. The data on it is just huge. And if you want to get an idea of what a proper paranormal investigation actually entails, I suggest you watch it on Monday. Because if anybody thinks for one moment that a YouTuber going around an abandoned building for a couple of hours, or anybody who thinks that even if you go into, if me, for instance, going into East Drive for a couple of days, if you think that's a proper paranormal investigation, you can forget it. No way. Absolute no chance. What this guy's done, he's done it over months and months and months, and he's collected thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence. So Tony's going to be coming in. He's going to be, obviously, I'm going to try. I mean, Christ, I don't even know how to do it. I'm already kind of panicking over it, to be honest, because he has given me so much information, and it's only part of what he's already collected. And when I say lots, I mean it's just the files. One file might be 50 or 60 pages long, and he's given me 12 of them, I think. So it's huge. So I'm going to be talking with him. We're going to try and go through some of the main events that have been going on with this family. We can't reveal it. We're going to go through what a full-on investigation entails. We talk about, obviously, there's the safeguarding, because there's children involved in this as well, how it compares in any way to other big investigations. I'm thinking the Enfield poltergeist case, and the differences, and how the modern things how we do things now compared to how we might have done things in the 1970s. Pomp, be careful. Yeah, so it's going to be really, really, genuinely, really interesting one on Monday. That's who I've got, and it's like I said, I don't think I'm going to try and keep it to an hour. If it obviously seems we're just scratching the surface, and in 1 hour we will only scratch the surface with it. I may have to bring him on again in future if we're going to go on to into more kind of detail. Just bear me the weekend, see if I can help with your stream issues. To be honest, I've got BT OpenReach coming on Monday, and the Monday morning, and I am crossing my bloody fingers that I think the issue is basically the fact that I don't have broadband at the minute. I'm just running everything through my phone, which I think is causing the internet issues. But anyway, yeah, by all means, yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a really interesting one on Monday. Absolutely. Who's on there? I know. Good evening, Ouija Brothers. Way again, slightly late. You have to go back now and have a look at the Stigmata stuff. Ignore the first 5-10 minutes where I was just arsing around with technology again. But anyway, and when I accidentally took out my video capture card, so which turned my camera off for a little while. That was awesome as well. That was great. Yeah, so check out Tony Hayes on Monday. He's going to go through a lot around what a proper investigation is going to be all about. I really genuinely, I mean, sometimes you think, oh, that'd be quite an interesting guest. That'd be quite big. But I think just to give you guys a sense of when things are done, and I do mean properly, and you go through every avenue, like Tony has had to go through every single avenue around, being, whether it's around the family, the safeguarding, and the capturing of all of this kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a really interesting one. Anybody who's got any interest in investigating or the paranormal or anything like that, and you want to see what a real thing looks like, again, this is fully backed up by Society for Psychical Research, and so there's some things we can't talk about, like I said, but a lot we can, because to release some of the details of what's been going on with them. Bugger off, Seg. Just don't fix your tech issues. It's always so funny. Absolute knob. Right, what's that? It'd be funny if it was Steve. Funny if it was Steve, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, Chris? Anyway, what's people saying? I've been watching for ages, Justin. I've just jumped on to wind people up. Oh, for God's sake. Well, that's you all over, quite frankly. Right. Anyway, hopefully you get no issues and have to bin your mate. All right, Beardo. Bloody hell. Christ. You're going to go, oh, he binned me like a used condom. Yeah, I did. Hey, Kenny got worse. Do you know what? Actually, the funny bit, Kenny Biddle came on, literally 2 seconds, right? And what you can't see on my stream is that he appeared, Kenny Biddle appeared. I said, sorry, Kenny, can't have you on. Turned him off. And I can still see it's not on the screen. You can't see him, but I just saw Kenny do this. Right? It was just like, I'm so sorry, Kenny. Anyway, made me laugh. Bless him. So I sent him a message saying, I am genuinely sorry for just turning you off straight away, giving you 2 seconds of airtime and then turning you off. Hey ho. Anyway, right, guys. I shall see you on Monday. Yeah, hi Kenny. Bye, Kenny. I shall see you on Monday with Tony Hayes. Hopefully, with my mic working. Hopefully, no issues with Tony. And yeah, please do like, share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I hope you've, like I say, enjoyed this little chat about Stigmata. Hopefully, I haven't offended too many people who are religious. I try to I really don't want that. I don't want to, offend people. I just wanted to go through some of the different cases and possible explanations for it. But anyway, all right. I shall see you guys on Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for the people who joined late, Beardo and Seg, Ouija Brothers. You the big channels always rock up an hour late. Anyway, thank you to everybody else for joining me from the start. Apologies for the technical issues again, and apologize for talking like Bruce Lee in a 70s movie. Hope you have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I shall see you on Monday. All right, guys. Night.